Is it gonna work now? Oh my god. What a piece of shit. This is so annoying. Hold on. Now, why is the camera not working in the other thingy? That's the next question that I have. Streamlabs apparently just broke itself. I apologize for that. Making me feel like a dumbass right at the top of the stream, of course. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Okay, so now you can hear me over here. Now I gotta figure out where the hell my camera went. And then we'll be making progress, okay? We'll do it. We'll do it together. We'll figure it out together. Everything will be fine. Don't worry about it. There we go. Okay, but it's on top of everything. Let's bring it down below chat. There we go. Okay, holy shit. What happened? I don't know what happened. Oh, there's echoes now. Are there echoes? Okay, there shouldn't be echoes. I don't see any echoes on my end, at least. I know Demon Mama encroaching on my Thursday is ridiculous. Anyway, okay, so now you all can hear me. Everything is fine. How are you today? Everything is great. Wow, good day. Mersh and Violet, let me bring up this version of the chat. Baphomet and Evie the Purple, and Star Still Dreaming, Timerinia, and Bay J. Welcome to the website chat, all y'all. Spider also, I saw that Hellhound renewed their tier 4 sub between last stream and this stream, so that's very cool. I believe I added that to this total already because I usually go by between streams and add any donos that I get. So we're dangerously close to actually hitting my bill goals for this month. So I'm very thrifty, is what I've learned over the last couple of months, as I'm not reaching that goal consistently. Gotta work harder. Juloris, welcome as well. And then, of course, in the YouTube chat, we've got a few people hanging out. Jur and Jay and Forsh Cat and Spurious Broccoli. Spurious Broccoli is a great name. Spectacular. No notes. I have no objections. Gosh. So, I am pretty chill currently, this moment. I feel like I have a million and one things going on all the time, and I still feel pretty terrible. So there's that as well. We have very few likes on the stream right now. So if you were to hit like on the stream, I would very much appreciate it. Right up top of the stream here, maybe we can get some more people in hanging out with us. There's always a direct correlation between more likes on the stream and more people seeing the stream to come in and hang out. So some people don't have their notification settings on. They just find it spontaneously. Getting near Friday. I wish time had any meaning to me. Oh gosh. I may, at various points in this stream, have to just like temporarily pause and like double over a little bit, because I posted a video earlier this week, and if you are in the Discord, you've also seen some discussion about it, and probably on Twitter as well. I had a tweet go majorly viral on Twitter on the subject of getting an IUD placed without local anesthesia or any meaningful pain management. Not the placement of the IUD itself was not so terrible, I guess. It's just the whole process that they did altogether was pretty traumatic and terrible. So that's why I didn't stream on Tuesday, because I was busy dealing with that. And yeah, I had a tweet hit. Oh, the last time I checked, it had like 63,000 likes on it, which is really insane for me. Yeah, it sucks because it's like it was a lady doctor who did it to me too. I'm like, do you not have one of these? Do you not understand what you have done? Looking good to have been what you have. Well, thank you. Yeah, so as of today, I think I'm feeling like I'm over the physical trauma of the event. Like Monday, I was pretty much actually in shock for a good few hours, probably. And then the next couple of days, we're just like residually dealing with that. Starting yesterday, I started to get actual like closer to what feel like period cramps. Like the first 2 days, I didn't really have that so much. But now I have that a bit, and I'm just basically switching off like every 3 hours. Well, trying to. I'm pretty forgetful, but like Tylenol and ibuprofen, like switch off every 3 hours with that. So that's what I'm trying to do. But as of today, I'm like over the physical shock enough to be like back to crying over my normal emotional problems that I'm having lately. So that's cool. Wow, so many likes. Wow. Oh my gosh. Always remember to drink water, folks. Hail, hydrate. So, yeah, I've just been kind of like trying to stay sane for a few days, trying to chill a little bit and not like go too hard on myself for not getting enough stuff done or whatever. Andrew says I had major knee surgery on Tuesday. That sounds like a fucking bummer. I hear that knee surgery is a tricky one to get, so I hope that your recovery goes well. Does not sound fun. But yeah, so just unpleasantness. Yeah, recovering somewhat. Yeah, enough to be back to being upset about my normal problems. So, yeah. I also have to get a biopsy of, I have like basically what looks like an HPV wart in my mouth. And I mean, it's like way in the back of my mouth, and I have to get it biopsied to make sure it's not cancerous. So that's going to be soon. And I don't know how expensive it's going to be. Fun times. Life has been so weird. The world around me is a burning tire fire, but my personal problems at least are making huge progress. I so wish that I could say the same. It's so, it's like huge struggle for it to be everything, like climate change and personal things all going bad at once, you know? But I'm just like trying to soldier on as much as I can. The biopsy shouldn't be so painful. Yeah, I don't think it really will be. They're gonna like do lidocaine and like take some of it off. And he said he would take as much of it off as he could, but it is still a sample and not like fully removing the thing. So it's just to make sure that it's not like cancerous, basically. But yeah, that's just a fun thing to potentially be like, oh, potentially the weird thing in my throat that like has now changed shape is it could be like maybe a little bit cancerous, but hopefully not. Just fingers crossed. I also started getting the HPV vaccination. It takes like 3 shots over the course of 6 months, and so maybe it's just falling off because of that. Who knows? But that's kind of what's going on with me. Highlights of the week right now. Oh my gosh, my microphone, it's got cat hair on it. How does this happen? I don't really bring the cat up here that often, and I just end up with cat hair all over the microphone, little cat fuzzes everywhere. Good Lord. Should I get him? Should I try to bother him? Do we want to do one early on in stream today? Just a little cat moment. I think we'll do a cat moment real quick. Oh, let's see if I can find him. Ooh. Chungus. He and Big Boy. Big Boy. Our house's atmosphere is at least 5% animal hair. I know, it's like, it just becomes another layer in the carpet. He's Big Boy. Are you a kitty cat? You want to say hello? Are you kitty? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yes, baby. You good? Yeah? Oh, that's a sound of annoyance, huh? I got your foot now. What are you gonna do? I got his foot. Tell him he makes good noises. I know, he's such a sweetheart. Mwah. Are you a good boy? Mwah. Yeah? He's learning to tolerate all kinds of nonsense. Oh, should we nom? Should we nom? He's being very, very patient for me right now. You a good boy? You're so good. Yeah. Oh no, he did not like it. Oh gosh. He was a very good sport for all that. I feel like he did really good. Oh, goodness. That dress is top tier. Yeah, I like it a lot. I like the halter top. What's up, Morningstar System? How's it going? Yes. The reason I'm wearing a dress is because I had cramps. And I wanted to not have, like, pants on, basically. So that was the goal. You can find them on Amazon, though, if you just look up, like, vintage style dress. There, you'll find, like, there'll be this same style of dress, but, like, with 10 different prints on them. Like, this one has, like, polka dots on it, and this one has stripes, and this one has roses, and, like, there's a bunch of different prints. Go femboy mode. Do it! Ooh, Umbrella Academy Season 3. I have not watched any Umbrella Academy, personally. I think it's mirror to get it to flip. Yeah, it's mirror to get it to flip left and right. Still find it so weird men stopped wearing dresses. So comfy, especially hot days. My issue usually is that it's too cold in the apartment because my partner prefers things to be pretty cold. Like, he just gets migraines that are kind of temperature sensitive, so... but it's been warm feeling for me, even in the apartment lately. Dresses are good when you have bodily issues. When I was recovering from a leg break, I only used dresses for a bit. I mean, if you're recovering from a leg break, I bet it's probably easier to use dresses and skirts than to, like, try to put your leg through pants. That makes sense to me, too. Dresses just make me feel like a cute femboy, TBH. That's, yeah, of course, like, the added benefit is that I do feel pretty cute. But, yeah. And like, I do sometimes dress cute to try to feel better. That's something that I do. I'm trying to, like, I'll dress cute and femme, and that'll make me feel like, oh, I'm cute, and that makes me feel better. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe there's, like, a correlation between, like, feeling good and valuable and feeling pretty. I don't know. Maybe. But it does make me feel better nevertheless. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take some pressure off of my womb. My Woomba. I wasn't actually trying to say that, but that's very funny. AFAB people have Woombas. They will hoover up everything. Gosh, ridiculous thing that I just said. Yeah, this dress doesn't have pockets. I will say that about this dress, but I am also just at home. Can you do a spin? I could do a spin. Hey, Analia, what's up? Dick's true. Do AFABs also name their Woombas? I certainly do not. Yeah, I guess I can go ahead and do one. Oh, I was going to be like, Went to an interview today and they asked for my pronouns. I'd die for that manager, not going to lie. Don't let them trick you into thinking like, ooh, it's a family environment just because they asked for your pronouns, okay? They're still evil. They're still evil. So, the dress, it goes, and it goes, I'm also wearing a petticoat. Like, it's not just the dress on its own. There's also a petticoat involved. That's a separate garment that I also paid money for. I was thinking about getting another petticoat so that I could double up and wear two petticoats at the same time and then be extra poofy. That would be fun. When I get a pussy, I'm calling it a Woomba, even if I technically don't have a uterus. It's like a Roomba for dicks. True, exactly. Exactly. That's why I was like, I was just trying to say womb and then put a funny emphasis on the B, but then I went womb, and I was like, wait, Woomba, like a Roomba. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be, it's like retro vintage style 50s, 60s, doo-wop, whatever, BS. Oh, thank you. I appreciate the compliments, though. This is, I believe, my favorite dress. And it's getting to be the right time of year. Yeah, wearing a light jacket over it could help with the pocket situation. I carry a bag sometimes, too. I'm not above carrying a bag. Oh my God, my insides hurt. I wanted to ask you all a question while we're in our warm-up time. And this might be a really, really brief conversation because I kind of doubt that many of you know a lot about it beyond like the kind of general stigmatized concept. But like I have BPD and I know a lot about it, like borderline personality disorder, to clarify, not bipolar disorder. I do not have bipolar disorder, and it is not generally abbreviated to BPD. That's borderline personality disorder, which is a cluster B disorder. Like it's like a slightly more serious kind of disorder than like depression or something like that. And then there's like, I know there's a couple other ones in there, but I was reading up about like narcissistic personality disorder, and I was curious if anybody knew very much about it because so like I find like, you know, BPD is really stigmatized to try to research. Like I learned most of what I learned about BPD from my therapist in the environment of the therapist, so that I didn't catch a lot of that stigmatized shit. But whenever you look up BPD, it's like how to get out of a relationship with someone with BPD. You know, it's like they're inherently toxic and impossible to be with. And I'm like, I know that I'm not inherently toxic and impossible to be with. That's fucked up. But it's like, it seems like it's much worse with narcissistic personality disorder. Like most of everything that you see about it is like, if there is advice about like how to manage it, it's like how to manage being in this relationship until you can get out. And it's like, why? I mean, and they say shit like, you know, the narcissist doesn't feel love the same way that you and I do. And I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, that's such a fucked up thing to say, especially because I know that like NPD is like treatable by therapy the same way that BPD is. You know, it's not like being it's not like having like psychosis where it's like a physical problem, you know. River System is researching this a little bit. Okay, I might be able to hit it up. I thought it was maybe it the last time I saw pronouns. Okay, cool. People forget that narcissists are often some of the most driven people, and they tend to struggle with low self-esteem because it's never enough. Yeah, it seems to be like that's the characteristic thing about NPD, is that it's like there's this seemingly grandiose self-image, but it's actually like a deeply insecure situation, you know? Yeah, the way people treat people with cluster B personality disorders is fucked. And arguably extremely ableist. True. My dad probably has it. My sister-in-law has frequently talked about her dad, which is why I was thinking about it. Really, like my sister-in-law was saying that her dad probably has it, and basically like here's like traits that he has that fit this model, and all of us who have lived with him, here are traits that we have that are like associated with having been in a cycle of like narcissistic abuse, you know. I got into an argument with a creator I used to look up to about narcissistic abuse. People dehumanize people with cluster B disorders so hard. How are they supposed to seek support when all there is shame? From what I was researching, like with NPD, like shame is one of the big reasons why they lash out and why they don't seek treatment, because they are aware on some level that their behavior is fucked up and they just are not able to confront that. In my case, I have some overlap due to autism spectrum, but it's very mild and closer to low self-esteem combined with people-pleasing behavior. People-pleasing behavior is not uncommon result of having a narcissistic parent. So like that's part of what my sister-in-law was saying, that like she is a major people pleaser because her dad is a narcissist, and like kind of you're required to adapt. Do people actually get officially diagnosed with NPD? Yeah. Yes, there is diagnostic criteria for it, but I think the like total number, I think it's like a 0.5 or 1% of the total population. That seems really high. What was I can't remember what the number was. I was just looking this up recently. But yeah, it's just that not very many people get diagnosed with it, because like one of the characteristic things about narcissism is that you cannot like confront your culpability. Like you cannot like, it's really difficult meaningfully to address your problems and admit that you need therapy, you know? Like it's harder than average for like most other mental disorders, which is really like too bad. And I can see on some level why so much of the stuff that you see written about it is like how to get out of a relationship with a narcissist or whatever, like how to distance from your narcissistic mother, because they do tend to cling to their version of things and not recognize the dysfunction in what they're doing. Cluster B Milkshake has NPD and does really good vids about it. Cool. That's also something that I was curious about, is like I was trying to find like people who actually have it to like hear what they have to say about it, instead of having a bunch of like psychologists and like other people psychoanalyzing people with NPD, like, and saying fucked up shit that I'm like, oh my God, you know, like if there's going to be fucked up shit said about somebody with NPD, I want them to say it, you know, like I don't want to hear some therapist say dehumanizing things. Still a lot of stigma regarding personality disorders. We live in very judgmental times. True. Many male CEOs who are very successful are narcissistic and even slightly sociopathic. Yeah, true. If you're female or non-binary with this disorder, you are seen in a far more negative light. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I haven't actually seen much Adventure Time, Violet, unfortunately. I talk about myself constantly and I'm really self-conscious about it. Like even right now, I'm like, wow, I need to shut the hell up. I'm treating myself like the protagonist of the universe. Yeah, I think it's not like talking about yourself so much. It's like, do you have a pathological need for people to see you as like better than others, or like ooh, you're always good, you know? That's one of those things. There's like 9 criteria or something. I think it's the same deal as with BPD, where there's like 9 criteria, and if you have 5 or more, then you could get a diagnosis. So yeah. Hey Rain Raven, currently being looked at for what's likely MS, waiting to be shoved in an MRI and poked in the back. Narrowly avoided being kicked from nursing school today because of it. Oh, yikes. I hope that you get a diagnosis so that you can remain in nursing school. Like, hopefully they let you have accommodations in order to remain in your program. Holy shit. Oh my gosh. Oh, true, Violet. Yeah, like avoiding needing help, like a lot of men. I do think that's apparently like 75% of the people who get diagnosed with NPD are men, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. They usually seek mental health treatment for other things though, and like discover the narcissism just in the midst of getting other health treatment, basically. But yeah, I wonder how many more there would be if men generally were more likely to seek mental health treatment. Emily says, I'm dealing with a very bad breakup. Snugs and support welcome. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry about that, Emily. I am not having a personal life good time either right now. And my heart is out to you. My heart goes out to you. There's a really good interview by Special Books for Special Kids where they interview a guy with antisocial personality disorder and bipolar disorder. It opened my eyes a lot. That's very cool. Yeah. But I was specifically looking at NPD because I was curious about the effects of like a parent having NPD on like the people around them, and then like what sort of other issues stem from that. I've suspected my partner has NPD for a hot minute now, just never felt sure how to bring it up. I mean, Cass, do you suspect your partner has NPD because you believe that you are like experiencing the cycle that they go through? Because they go through like it's described as like a 4-step cycle. This is why I think for me personally, like NPD and BPD have seemed kind of similar in the past, because with borderline, one of the diagnostic criteria is patterns of unstable relationships characterized by extremes of idealization and devaluation, which is like to say it's like black and white thinking. You go back and forth between thinking this person is the best thing in the world, they're the best thing that's ever happened to me, especially early in the relationship. And then later on, you're like, I don't see any value in this person. Like, they do nothing for me. They don't make enough money. They don't do enough around the house. Like, why am I even around them? So that's a cycle that people with BPD can go through. But with people with NPD, it's considered broken down in a couple more steps. At least, like, I don't think that this is technically part of the diagnostic criteria. I can't remember. But like, the process goes like, I mean, it starts with idealization, or colloquially it's called love bombing at the beginning. Like, you know, idealization, you're the best, I'm going to treat you so good, I'm going to do all these crazy good things. Sometimes it's even uncomfortable, the gestures that they'll do at the beginning. And then they'll switch into more like a devaluation, where they're like, they withdraw that affection, and they're like, you know, you're not good enough for me. Like, you're not, like, oh, you're a bad partner now, like, whatever. Like, and you're like, oh, what the fuck did I do? I don't know. And then they'll go into, what is it? Discard, which is they'll like threaten to leave you. They will, like, they'll cheat on you. They will go somewhere else. Basically, like, they will completely cut contact for a short period of time. Like, they'll withdraw all their affection completely. Even if they don't fully intend on actually leaving you, they might also just like neglect you, basically. And like, then after a while, the last phase is called hoovering. Like, they come back to like vacuum up the mess, I guess is why it's called hoovering. But they like try to get you back in, you know, they start like with like drawing you back into the process of like, it'll start to build back up to like love bombing again. Like, it'll circle back around and then just keep going like that. So if you're stuck in that cycle, I would say it's really, really sensitive to bring up, because of the tendency for narcissists to, they don't deal with criticism very well, you know? And yeah, it can just be a little bit rough. Were you trying to figure out how to make spoilers in the chat, Crestfallen? Okay, I don't remember how to do it, and I do not have that set up. I don't think. I'll have to figure it out on someone else's chat and add it back to the. I think my ex might have NPD. Yeah, and the thing is that they also tend to like. Apparently, the more you see. Oh yeah, if you want to. Yeah. Okay, it's just like in Discord. Cool. But yeah, so it's tricky if you think that someone has NPD because they have a tendency to not tolerate criticism, and they don't tend to respond well when they feel like you are perceiving. What's at the bottom of it is deep insecurity. The reason that they have a front that they show up, that they put out in front of, like, they pretend that they think that they're cool and everything, is because they have cripplingly low self-anxiety. Like you'll trigger their shame if you call out this horrendous thing and you're like, I know that you actually kind of hate yourself. They don't react very well, is what I've learned. Hoovering, the phase where they nonstop suck you off. I fucking wish, dude. Oh, man. What's up, Mickey? How's it going? The more we try to fix people, the more likely we make them think that they don't need help to understand their needs and difficulties better. Yeah, it's really tough, I think, to get someone to recognize that they have the issue. I feel like the only thing you could do is, I don't know. I don't actually know. You might have to just really ease into it. Love bombing equals suck bombing. Yeah, Cass, the whole cycle, it sounds familiar to you? That's rather unfortunate. It sounds really challenging to have to deal with on a regular basis, honestly. Reptileverse says, I started a new job at Starbucks and they are amazing there. That's awesome. Congratulations. Amazing. Narcissists and sociopaths in particular are notorious for trying to avoid therapy. Yeah, like, why? I get, like, it's hard to acknowledge that you might be the problem, but, like, I don't know. Like, I guess it's just, like, I don't have NPD, so I can't imagine what it's like. But, like, when I was confronted with, like, I was doing something during an argument, you know, I was, like, mischaracterizing what the other person was saying, and they pointed it out, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't even realize that I was doing that. And the fact that I didn't realize that I was doing that means that, like, I clearly don't have the tools by myself to be able to navigate these kinds of conversations without making things worse. So I fucking started therapy. You know, like, I was like, oh shit, I am making the problem worse, so I'm gonna go to therapy now. And then I busted ass at therapy for fucking 2 years through 2 different, very intensive therapy programs. Reminds me painfully of my past family vacations with my dad, going from happy to upset with how we act to feeling guilty to trying to buy things to address the guilt because he doesn't know how to talk it out. I think growing up, I remember seeing therapists kind of like an intellectual competitor due to narcissism. How do you mean? Like you are in a competition to not let them actually figure you out or something? Hey, what's up, Catherine? Welcome in. And Spider is over there in the YouTube chat as well. Like you're competing for smartest person in the room. Oh, shoot. State-mandated BFs, GFs, NBFs are so 2021. We need state-mandated therapy for everyone. No shit, dude. I've known people who have narcissistic tendencies who say things like, oh yeah, I think everybody should be in therapy. Like, I think everybody could benefit from therapy. And then I'm like, okay, but what are you doing? You know, like, what time, like, how long is it going to take you to get into therapy? Pain. What's up, Kara? How's it going? But yeah, it's really difficult to, like, learn about NPD. If it weren't for the fact that I was so committed to not stigmatizing mental illnesses so much, I think that I would have, like, in the very short period of time that I've just been curious about learning about it, I would have absorbed, like, a lot of toxic messaging already about people with NPD. It took a while to get past that stage of feeling like the therapist was my intellectual competitor to actually get help without trying to compete with or impress them. That sounds really, really hard. I also watched a video that was like, can people with narcissism change? And it was like, it's kind of like you just have to choose to be the opposite kind of person that you are, like, is kind of how it sounded. It was like, instead of being controlling, you have to learn to let go, and that other people are going to do what they're going to do, and like you don't have a say necessarily, and like a whole bunch of different stuff like that, where it was just like, if the narcissistic trait is this, then you need to do the exact fucking opposite. I'm like, wow, it's honestly like, that sounds incredibly difficult to basically just like reverse literally all of your behaviors. Like, it seems like a lot of the types of behaviors that people with narcissism do are like, it's like saturates every interaction that you have, basically. Like, it, you know, it's not like an episodic thing where it comes and goes. It seems like it's pretty well saturates your entire life. But all is lost. We're talking about a narcissistic personality disorder. I'm diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which is in the same kind of cluster of problems as NPD. I was trying to research it a little bit. Narcissism. I was trying to research a little bit, and found that it was filled with a lot of very hateful, stigmatic information. So much of who I am is seen as a moral failing of mine instead of just neurological differences from them and what kind of activities I enjoy. True. Oh my god, being an anarchist just makes me a bratty sub to the state. I mean, true. I've heard it's the nature of the illnesses. People with APD, is that antisocial personality disorder, are very analytical, so they will typically only seek help when they think it will be a gain for them. People with NPD, because of the shame of going to therapy and acknowledging a diagnosis, they only go when they've come to terms that it's the only way to improve their lives. It's definitely possible for all cluster Bs, but you can't really force it, like how therapy for depression isn't typically helpful unless the person wants it. Yeah, it's like, and you know, if somebody with NPD is like sabotaging their life, basically, like you have to let them find their low. And if they don't ever find their low, then they're just going to be in the same cycles. And, you know, at a certain point, you just have to, like, accept that there's nothing you can do to help them. But that's true of, like, a lot of other disorders, too. It's not, like, unique to NPD. You know, if somebody doesn't want to address their, like, even if they don't have a disorder, like, that's officially diagnosable, a lot of people, like, just are not prepared to face their part of the issues and go to fucking therapy, you know? Oh my gosh. Oh, I mean, that's true too. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. The problem with some psych advice is that it's not for the benefit of the person sometimes. If you have a problem behavior, they try to make you behave in a way that is better for others and society, but not you personally. The prejudices of the therapist can be projected into advice, unfortunately. Yeah. And finding a therapist who's able and willing to help you and is good at it if you have a cluster B disorder is difficult. Like I feel like I was pretty lucky that my therapist was so, like, she was like 20 years of being a DBT therapist. So she had specifically been treating my issue for 20 years. Don't have NPD, but did have a severe aversion to opening up to people related to toxically masculine expectations put on me, as well as general untrustworthiness that led to years of therapy as a kid doing nothing for me. Only once I started seeking out therapy for myself did I actually start to make progress. Yeah, I guess, you know, you cannot, nobody else can make you go to therapy. Nobody else, like, people can try to set limits and say, like, well, if you don't address these issues meaningfully, then I need to maintain boundaries so that we're at a healthier distance. But like, they can't like make you go to therapy. That's all they can do is set limits with you. And then you can decide whether or not that's worth not going to therapy over, you know? I wonder if my ex has NPD. Could be. What's up, Decoy Duck? How's it going? We are here. We're just chit-chatting about narcissistic personality disorder. To be fair, my view of therapists was always super weird because both of my parents are. Oh, both your parents are therapists? Oh, that's weird. I felt like a lot of his criticisms were based in "you're not good enough for me." Yeah, they do tend to hold pretty high standards. And I think that part of it is that they need someone to validate them all the time. And like, I think that they also are like insecure in a way that they're like, they kind of feel the need to neg you a little bit. Like, I think that narcissists kind of neg their partners and the other people around them so that they always feel like they need to be better in order to get validation. Like, just keeping you constantly seeking validation. If I ever do need to go to a therapist, due to having like other issues, I might have to go to a special therapist who might not have my best interests at heart. Oh, because do you have to go to like a VA therapist? That sounds fucking annoying, DBH. Been able to go to an approved therapist that is able to help me with the intersex issues. That's awesome. I'm glad that you at least have somebody to talk to about that, because that in and of itself is a pretty difficult thing to deal with. They nag themselves because they think if they don't, they aren't worth feeling pride in themselves. It's often a heavy reliance on external validation, pushing in order to feel motivated to do things. They do. What's up, Hellhound? I love your purple name. I appreciate the tier 4 sub I saw you did between last stream and this stream. Rock on. But yeah, I was just kind of interested and looked into it a little bit and watched a few videos, and I started to watch and then aborted watching a few videos because of the horrendous things and like dehumanizing things that they were saying. So anyway, oh, that's what Lux has been thinking about for the last couple of days. There's also like subtypes. It's not like clinically, I don't think it's in the DSM, the subtypes, but there's like different ways to look at it. Jenna got approved for HRT, first endo appointment in a week. Congratulations. That's incredibly exciting. I'm psyched for you. Oh my gosh. Make sure that they're checking your hormone levels on a regular basis. For the first few months, it needs to be like once per month. And then you might be able to go like, oh, once it seems like stable, maybe every 3 months for a couple of times, and then every 6 months or so. But like, definitely at first, check it often, because I know some doctors are just like not aware, or they're not on it as good. So like, you don't want to be stuck on like too low of a dose, because they do tend to do that sometimes. Fucking endos with their bullshit. Do we have 50 concurrent viewers right now? We have 50 concurrent viewers, and I'm just sitting here talking about fucking narcissistic personality disorder. Hit like on the stream if you have not yet hit like on the stream. Am I going to lose everybody when I start talking about House of the Dragon? Maybe I shouldn't do that today. I was a carer for my mother who had an undisclosed mental illness diagnosis, and I wonder if it might have been something like NPD. She said things like, I should be awarded your exam certificates, in the sense that she should get credit for your good grades. Is that what she's trying to say? What the fuck? I haven't seen it, but I plan to skip it. Yeah, that's fair. It's a very different game. It's a very different situation, different show from the Game of Thrones. Oh my god, my insides hurt. Give me a second here. Yikes. Okay. Can you please? Okay. It's not stopping. So, I've given up trying to get HRT now because they're unwilling if you are kind of suicidal. Why? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, but House of the Dragon is, it's a prequel series sort of to Game of Thrones, but it's like 200 years beforehand. And it's about the Targaryen Civil War, where they have like a bunch of adult dragons, like 10 or more adult dragons at the time of the Civil War. So that's going to be like the kind of, it's, it's a war about the succession, and it's pretty cool. I'm excited about it. Mostly because I think Matt Smith plays a really good bad guy, and Matt Smith is in it and plays kind of a bad guy. Am I okay? I got an IUD put in earlier this week, and it was a horrendous experience, and I am still not feeling super great. And then also, there are multiple things wrong with my personal life, and so, like, now that I'm done with the physical shock and trauma of the IUD placement, now I'm back to just being very upset about other shit. It is weird seeing Matt Smith with that hair. I feel like it works okay. It works okay. It doesn't bother me too much. I'm just waiting for that Amazon Lord of the Rings shit to drop next week. Not even sure if I'm gonna watch that. What about the Schmental health check-in? Yeah, Nuvenal, I don't feel good, and that's pretty much what my check-in is. I don't feel good, and I'm not gonna talk about it. My partner's definitely been talking about a lot of this and how they deal with it healthily. Yeah, I'm really, yeah, I do find myself very curious about the question of how do you, how could you tell someone that they have NPD if they don't know? Like, how could you get them to deal with it, you know? Especially if you're the person that they tend to focus that pattern on, you know? Like, you know, Cass, like if Cass is the person in the YouTube chat there, if Cass's partner has NPD and goes through this cycle of devaluation, discarding, hoovering, love bombing, because it's so easy for Cass to be the focus of that, like, discard, like, so the person in the relationship with NPD, like, the person who doesn't have NPD is basically aware that at any time, like, the other person could threaten the relationship, right? So you kind of are in a situation where you have to be careful what you say if you don't want to trigger a conversation that is going to become about that, right? Like, how do you actually try to get someone with a, like, basically pathological inability to accept responsibility to start accepting responsibility? Like, what do you do? Everyone out here having problems getting HRT when I'm a few months out from a detransition. Shit's fucked. Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you live, you know, and obviously I think society is probably going to be more friendly to detransitioners. I don't know. I don't actually know. Maybe not. Trying to get away from a parent with NPD. Texas doesn't make it easy to get out of state. Yeah, gosh. Can't even cut her off because we have kids. Oh, no. That's really a big struggle, Catherine. I'm so sorry. I'll def watch, but I'm not really waiting with bated breath. I simply do not have time or attention for another TV show. However, seeing dragons on screen makes me... yeah, wait, what is this one called? Makes me soy, so I might watch it. Yeah, I like... this series has much more... You can tell the dragons apart in a way that you cannot in the other ones. Like, they're barely different, you know? When you have Daenerys, like, Drogon and Viserion and Rhaegal, they all kind of look the same, right? But in this one, they are much more clearly different colors. They have different features. They, I think, make different sounds, too. So it's going to be cool. I feared therapy even as an adult because growing up in my father's house, before I understood I was trans, my father used therapy and psych meds as a threat leverage to control my emotional issues at the time. Oh, like, oh, I'm gonna take you to a therapist and have you put on psych meds to make you normal. Is that what you mean? He would always tell me, if you don't fix your outbreaks and control yourself, we'll do it for you and put you on meds that'll make you not yourself anymore. Ugh. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good time. But do they have different dong sizes? Dragons are not male or female. They, I think, are just, like, all able to reproduce like I think they reproduce sexually, but as far as I can tell, it doesn't matter which. They're not. They can do both. Like they just have cloacas. I don't know. Like I prefer watching Critical Role or Dimension 20 for dragons. Smaug is definitely a dude, though. Listen, I'm taking the Dragon Dong question. The only reason is because it's canonical in the show. Like, the Maesters say at one point, I think in Fire and Blood, that dragons are neither male nor female. I think actually what they say is that they're like neither male nor female, but both at once, or like whatever is required at any given time, essentially. So, like, yeah. And that kind of fits in with how the Valyrian language is supposed to be gender neutral. That was the whole plot point with, like, Azor Ahai is the prince or princess who was promised. We need to stop the whole telling people they need to go to therapy to fix what's wrong about them. I don't know. I struggle with that because, yeah, I mean, yeah, on the internet, I'll say, yeah, like, there's a difference between, like, in your personal life being like, this person I know, I wish they would start therapy and I need to figure out how to tell them that, versus, like, telling people on the internet in a dismissive and dehumanizing way, like, you need to start therapy. You know, like, that's like the kind of thing that someone with NPD says to their partner. They're like, you're, oh, clearly you have a problem, you know. You're not gonna be like, do you require this, dicks? True. Yeah, sorry, it's an emoji that is a subscriber only. Does anybody want to give Emily or E Lawrence 5 a tier 1 sub for $5 on the website? I'll take a $5 dono in exchange for Emily Lawrence getting to do the dicks emoji. I switched to saying your username just so that people would know who I was referring to when I was saying you should gift a tier 1 sub to E Lawrence 5. I was threatened with being committed to a psych facility, even for simple mild delinquency, as a child and teenager. Holy shit, that's very fucking frustrating. So many times on the net, I see people being like, everyone who has this fetish needs to go to therapy and get it fixed. Okay, yeah, that's definitely, like, that's really stupid. I do see a lot of that, like, anti-BDSM stuff that's like, men need to go to therapy and examine why they get sexual pleasure from beating women and, like, bruising them and brutalizing their bodies and stuff like that. Which I think is very stupid. Like, I feel pretty comfortable with, like, being on the flip side of that, being like a person who's like, actually, I think that some amount of violence would be good, please, thank you. It's like, I'm done processing my trauma. It has nothing to do with my trauma now, you know. Like, I mean, I don't think it ever did, because I'm still interested in it. The interest is not different. It's not more or less. My interest in the BDSM actually hasn't changed at all since my trauma got fixed, which is an interesting thing. Like, it's totally disconnected. That's a big part of it too, Violet. Yes, we as a society view mental health as not a health question, but some kind of personal failing of theirs, unlike physical health needs. Yeah, and we treat mental health, the way we treat it is corrupt because there's a financial incentive to overdiagnose and undertreat people. Yeah, and like, yeah, so many people in their homes grow up with, like, a stigma against it for some reason, where they're like, oh, you know, going to therapy makes you weak, or like, oh, those quacks, you know, you just pay them to sit there and listen to you talk for an hour, and then they send you home with a prescription and tell you everything's going to be all right. And like, oh, it's a waste of money, scam industry. Like, I think that we do have, like, a pretty big problem with not granting enough legitimacy to these professionals. But not every therapist is good at their job, you know, to be fair. And that's also true too, that not every issue is going to work with every type of therapy and every therapist. Like, I personally don't really like CBT all that much. I just really like DBT better, and it works better for me. It's got more structure. I love dragons so fucking much, I'm struggling to write a series about them as main characters. That sounds like fun, Finn, but also quite challenging. The therapist will make you into a normal boy and fix your gender. No. See, personally, I love CBT. It's possible that I just, like, was exposed to the wrong form of CBT before. Oh, yeah, okay, I see what you're doing. Going so much so that I'm going for the ultimate form of it, vaginoplasty. True. Yeah, I see everybody's making CBT jokes. I gotta refill my water. I'll be right back. My house was sort of like, you are encouraged to explain your emotions clinically, but you are discouraged from actually expressing emotion. Delicious. I have a weird feeling towards psychiatrists. I know some really good ones who've helped many people. However, these same people have done some controversial government research, etc. Oh no. At work, we have computer-based training, which everyone calls CBT. Oh no. There's a different... there's so many different ways that these acronyms can overlap with each other. I prefer Eastern wise dragons, wind serpents over Western beast monsters that kill all who stand against them. Yeah, I guess that's fair. I don't really like the Eastern wind serpent, like, as much. Although I obviously, like, I think dragons being wise is better than them being brutes. Like, I prefer when they're more like thinking people. Like that glimmer of a moment in Game of Thrones where they made that one dragon, like, laugh at Tyrion's joke. That was pretty good stuff. If they were able to do that, that would be great. Excuse me. It's time to do your CBT. You have to do CBT before you can operate this machine, etc. Nice. It's like when I worked retail, and when you're working retail, like, the thing that the cashier interacts with that has, like, the drawer with the cash and, like, maybe some buttons or maybe a touch screen, you know? That thing is called a point of sale system or a POS. So it's one of my favorite things, I used to be in retail, that now when I'm checking out and someone is like, oh, this thing, it's being slow. And I'm like, well, there's a reason they call it a POS. And they fucking love that shit. It's like, only if you know. Like, if you know, you know, right? POS, aka piece of shit that still runs Windows 95. Exactly. Yes. So I guess I won't go into, like, a lot of huge detail. I will just talk sort of generally about House of the Dragon for a couple of minutes, and then we'll swing back into talking about the news, if you'll indulge me for just a minute. I think that they're gonna try to be more accurate to things in the story. Like, there's some ways in which it looks like they're kind of just ignoring some stuff that happened in the Game of Thrones series, like, later on. Like, for example, the skulls of the dragons, their bones are supposed to have iron in them. So in the books, they're described as being totally black bones, black skulls. And of course, in Game of Thrones, they were, like, white skulls. And in this show, they're much gnarlier looking, the skulls are, and they're black, which is very exciting. Holy shit, I've worked in retail for 3 years and only now just realized the POS thing. Granted, I work in the back, so I don't have to interact with it. That's fair enough. Cock behavioral training? Oh my god, Baphomet, come on. Do dragons in GOT fight with fire, or are they immune and fight like cats or something? There is not a lot of dragon directly fighting each other in Game of Thrones, because all of the dragons belong to one person. Up until very close to the end. And even then, like, I don't think regular rules would apply for whether they're affected by each other's fire, because once Viserion dies, his fire is, like, blue and, like, an undead dragon fire, so it's a different kind of thing. So we will find out. I don't know. I bet that they are, like, immune to fire on their skin, but I don't know if they're immune to fire, like, if another dragon were to like shoot a fireball into their face or something. I don't know. Still annoyed the dragon wasn't even killed by the sword they spent like half a season to obtain. Wait, which sword did they take a long time to obtain? I'm a dingus wingus. It's been a minute. I haven't like done a rewatch of Game of Thrones in a long time because that show did me wrong. That show did everybody wrong, okay? I like Matt Smith a lot. The main reason why I'm interested in watching this show in the first place is because I really liked him as the Doctor, because he played like basically a really good villain as the Doctor. That was my opinion of him. And I think that they did a good casting choice with him in this role. I've appreciated all of his moments so far. Chekhov's gun, aka the sword John knows nothing got. He got the sword Longclaw, which was Jeor Mormont's sword from House Mormont on Bear Island. I'd love to see a dragon written like Heimerdinger from Arcane, where it's old enough to know how awful human societies can be and disapprove of some things like weaponry, but unlike Heimerdinger is a big, powerful dragon willing to fight against societies and armies they judge as unfit for power. You want a dragon dictator is what you want, Rain Raven. You want a dragon. You want like Superman, but if he was a fascist and also a dragon. That's what you want. Dragon dictator. True. There is a horrendous bit of the first episode. Like, the whole fucking point of the show is that there's going to be a crisis of succession. So we're establishing that, like, the spoilers time now. The queen, like, has had multiple failed pregnancies, and they haven't had a son yet. They have a daughter who's like a teenager, but they haven't managed to have a son for the purpose of having a king next in line. And she's like, okay, this is the last time I'm going to try to have this baby. If something goes wrong, like, I think she is saying even if the baby is okay, like, she's not going to try to have another baby after this one. And then it goes badly. And then they, like, have to do an emergency C-section, but it's like a medieval emergency C-section, and it's horrendous. And I hated it, and it was also not fun to watch that scene after having like a really horrible IUD placement earlier this week. Which, if you're here and you don't know, if you're like, what the fuck are you talking about, your IUD placement? Like, just go watch the 20-minute video that I posted explaining what happened so that I don't have to relive it right now, because it was awful. No, but the dragon has good judgment from centuries of observing us, but maybe has to fight off younger, less mature dragons. That would be interesting. I mean, dragons in D&D can be kind of like dangerously lawful and bossy, specifically the, quote, good ones. Very interesting. So hopefully these dragons have a little bit more personality. One of them is a mutant dragon with like an extra long neck that looks all fucking weird. He can still fly and everything though, but he's supposed to be like kind of a mad dragon a little bit. I mean, which tracks with the Targaryens because they're mad dragons. Hey. But yeah, so this one is going to be political intrigue and stuff, and then eventually dragon fights as the later seasons come, and I'm excited about that. Mad dragon. I know. I honestly wish that I had the money to try to get not a bad dragon, but something similar. Like the ones that I have, you know, you're like, this is not the quite right the mood. This is not the quite right mood either. No. Yeah, bad dragons are well, it's not just that they're expensive, but people like people say that they have bad labor practices and stuff, so going to watch it with my partner after the current show, so we'll get off for a bit. Night. Have fun. When a boy does something assertive, he's praised, but if you're a dragon, it's bossy. The sexism in this country is fucking real. True. I had exactly one bad dragon and it costed me like $80. Yeah. I don't know that people from smaller companies who make quality toys are any cheaper than that, really. Drop your recommendations. If you have any recommendations for like toy makers who made good silicone shit, you can drop the links in the chat. What's up, Zerzix? We're just talking about House of the Dragon and dildos now, temporarily. Always a fun time. So, yeah, do I really have any other thoughts about House of the Dragon? I don't want to go into like a lot of detail forever. I basically know what's going to happen in the show. Like, I know it's interesting because normally I fucking hate, I think I'm done. I'm not going to talk about spoilers really from this point forward. I normally really hate spoilers, but I didn't know that they were going to make this show. So I just happen to have spent like hundreds of hours of my time probably watching a bunch of content about Game of Thrones and Fire and Blood and the Dunk and Egg adventures. You know, that was just how I spent my time for a few years there, was learning a bunch of shit about the books. And I know all of the major beats of what's going to happen in House of the Dragon, but I'm still like interested in watching it for those interpersonal moments. Like, I think Daemon Targaryen is badass. I think I'm really going to like Rhaenyra. I think they're setting up, it's kind of set up to, it seems like there's going to be this female protagonist. Like, she's going to be the main protagonist of the show, even if we have all these other sort of storylines going on. So I'm excited about that. Having like a strong lady as the main person in the show, not having her get killed at the end, like after going off the deep end and killing everybody in King's Landing. That would be cool too. That would be a neat time. Yeah. Gotta stop saying bossy and start saying bussy. I understood what you meant. Okay, we got some recommendations pouring in. I might need to get a new one soon, so we're checking it out. I'll check out some of your links later. Oh my gosh, so thirsty today. Yummy. I decided I'm going to start doing like, I'm going to try to not aim to do like fucking 4 or 5 segments in a stream, so that we can kind of take our time a little bit more in between. But like, so I only really have 2 major news items, unless someone else has some stuff that they want to bring up. I also want to leave that opportunity open more often, to where it's like, instead of me having a packed stream, being able to be like, oh, something from the chat can distract us and derail us, and maybe we'll have a whole different segment about something that comes up in chat, you know? Lux gets especially thirsty when talking about dragons. True. What network? It's HBO. House of the Dragon is going to be on HBO. Hail hydrate. Exactly. Is the latency between us a little bit better than this time? Because I think that maybe it was a little bit extra slow last time, because I was thinking about like live captions, and live captions can only be done if it's on the lowest latency setting. So Hellhound, I kind of just flip-flop back and forth between saying H and H, and it doesn't really matter what word it is. Is it streaming or is it on the regular HBO channel? I think it comes out like at the same time on Sundays. I know it is streaming, but I don't know if it's on the regular HBO channel. That would be something I'm not sure about. Headcanon: trans men are dragons, trans women are unicorns, and non-binary folk are fae folk. I'm a dragon though, and I'm non-binary. I'm agender. I've seen Pleasure Forge as well, but Pleasure Forge like doesn't have a regular fucking inventory. They have like really short drops and also like very inadequate pictures for sizing. Oh wait, no, maybe they did finally add some, like, compared to the size of a bottle of Coke or a can of Coke. Fey Dragon, maybe. No personal experience, but Primal hardware seems to have good quality, it looks like. Also expensive, though. Usually when I've bought from Bad Dragon, I've always bought ones that are... I have 3 from Bad Dragon. 2 of them were on the adopts. They were like, this one has a slight imperfection at the base. And I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't really affect the use of the whole thing. So that's like a little bit less expensive. But still, they're like 60 or 70 bucks. I got very used to seeing people use Unicorn very differently on hookup apps. True, that's... yeah. Couples looking for their unicorn woman to have threesomes with and take out all their emotional baggage on. Kobold dildo, true. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, the $70. That's what I mean. It's like, you know, if you have 3 bad dragons, just because just because they're the wrong shape or size for what you want most of the overwhelming time, like, well, you just probably should just deal with not having a toy. Basically, that's how I usually approach it. I need to be saving my money very much. I need to start. I probably should be more annoying and solicit donos, but I don't want to piss everybody off and run you away. Like, consider dropping me $1 on Patreon, because I can budget around that, you know? I buy my toys from Amazon. It's tricky to buy your toys from Amazon because a lot of the shit that you buy off Amazon, they don't actually list what the materials are. It's better to buy from a place that is like, this is certified body safe silicone. Because you don't want phthalates in your hoo-ha. Okay, Strange Bedfellas also runs on the drop model. I have definitely seen MFF couples work. Yeah, I mean, yes, it can work to have, like, MFF couples function, but it's just, the fact is, like, a lot of the time, it is just, like, a couple with a lot of issues trying to find a woman to, like, fix their issues or, like, take their emotions out on, or have her do the childcare or the house cleaning or something. Like, oh, we need a second woman to pick up the normal womanly duties of the house kind of situation. Like, or to just be available for sex, and, like, we're not going to bother to attend to her emotional needs. Like, the unicorn hunting has, like, specific connotations. Love to get my prostate stabbed by a dragon claw, TBH. True. But yeah, it's not to say that it doesn't work. It just has, like, some issues. I'm going to be thinking about this narcissism thing for a while, I think. Just... oh my god, my nose itches. Why? Because I'm still stuck on, like, but how do you tell someone? I think the answer is, like, if you can tell them, but then you need to back the fuck off and, like, not expect them to actually change once you tell them that information. Being dark gray sexual makes sex stuff still really awkward for me, especially on top of the problems with dysphoria involved. I was gonna cry, like, what's wrong with toys from Amazon? Some of our funnest ones are from there. Yeah, no, sex toys from Amazon. Sorry. Britain has some new animal sentience protection committee that only has the power to make a recommendation on new laws. Oh my god, my insides. Why? Hyper toys? I have a cousin who has a husband and a boyfriend who have been living together on the same farm for over 20 years. They seem happy. Yeah, we were in an open relationship a few years ago. It's entirely possible that fucked up our relationship in ways that we're still not recovered from. Entirely possible. Yeah, no, I'm definitely, it's weird because the cramps come and go, you know. It's not like the IUD is inherently in the wrong place, like it's not causing damage, I don't think, or it would hurt constantly. It's that I think my body is like, get this fucking thing out of here, and it's trying to squeeze it out. So it comes and goes, just like it comes and goes with period cramps, where like they're periodically like squeezing to try to get the shit out of there and then like relaxing. So it comes and goes. Oh God. But I can't keep taking time off because we're coming up close to Renaissance Festival time. So basically, starting Labor Day weekend, I am not going to be streaming on Sundays until like toward the end of October. So we're going to go down to a schedule of only streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays. Since I'm going to be working on the weekends. Yeah, basically, like that's the plan. What are your thoughts on evidence that trans women and femmes have psychological periods when taking HRT? Oh my God, thank you, Violet. I love talking about this. I firmly believe that once you have estrogen in your body, that your body takes its own, your body starts adjusting its own hormone levels as well as that, or at least it creates like a symptom cycle. Like supposedly I've heard that cis men also have some kind of cycle with their testosterone of some sort. I would be curious if that's true. Like a monthly cycle, I mean, because they have like a daily kind of thing as well, but monthly is what I was referring to. So your body, like as long as you, especially if you still have your gonads, your body has the ability to adjust its own hormone levels as well. So I'm not sure, like you would have to actually check throughout the month what was physically happening to your hormone levels, but what the physical symptoms do still happen, and it tends to be on like some kind of similar schedule. And it's not psychological because like the kind of symptoms that we're talking about are like swollen breasts and like cramping, because the cramping is not just the uterus, it's all smooth muscle fiber in the lower abdomen. So you that's why you have like constipation or diarrhea as a symptom of periods. So trans women can have cramping and constipation and diarrhea and mood swings and libido changes and basically literally every single symptom of a period except for actual bleeding. And this is also corroborated when cis women get a hysterectomy, but they keep their ovaries. They still have a cycle, the same cycle. And just like trans women, all the same other symptoms, just not the bleeding. All the same other symptoms. Because it's about your, body-wide hormone system. Cramps when you work out. Meant to say physiological, though hormone fluctuation definitely would have psychological impacts as an effect. Yeah, definitely there. Yeah, and like the mood changes as well and everything. Yeah. I want to see some data looking into the classes of AMABs on E. As far as I know, the data is wholly unstudied. I don't know that it's been studied in this regard. What's up, Dizzy? Trans women are more biologically women than I am because my E-cycles do very little and period cramps are just not much of a thing I deal with, especially post-subdermal implant. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to, I'm hoping that the IUD stops me from having periods. Ugh, that would be really convenient. It's fucking hot and I hate Earth. I'm so sorry. I'm so grateful for the air conditioning. I'm always so grateful for the air conditioning. Oh my God. Yeah, it's, I too am like, I struggle kind of back and forth between being like, I hate myself and the world, and also like, I'm trying to, like, the situation that I'm trying to deal with off camera is like I'm trying to understand it better, and I think that I'm like in the pursuit of trying to understand it better, I'm like feeling a little bit more in control, or at least like I can do better acceptance. But it's still extraordinarily sad. Basement Suite up here in Canada is fantastic for hot summers. Yeah, absolutely. People describe period cramps, and I'm like, IDK, what those are? I just have a backache when the blood starts. Yeah, it's weird, the backache. Like, why does the lower back hurt? So strange. So strange. But it's not just when you're on your period, though, too, because my back has been hurting the past couple days while I'm dealing with, like, post-IUD cramping. Like, I just finished my period, you know? Rain Raven, what Dizzy is trying to say is, like, it's, like, female symptoms, basically. It's, like, because technically each and every single one of these different traits could be considered a female trait. Like, having this symptom cluster at this time of the month or whatever, you know? What? Oh, yep. Okay, I don't know if the emoji was on purpose with Otro. Symptoms of estrogen. It's true, symptoms of estrogen. It's like, yeah, technically, I was like thinking this, like, technically, I could arbitrarily draw the line and say, you're not really female unless while you were having your period, you experienced this extremely sharp pain caused by a muscle cramp in your rectum, which I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's like, if you don't know what that is and you haven't experienced that while you're on your period, then you're not a real woman, you know? Like, I could just arbitrarily draw the line there. Agree moat. That's incredible. I love agree moat. That's a good one. Goodness gracious. I'm so glad that I have so many different dildo websites to look through later and not buy anything from, because it's like a tricky time of the month, and I had to pay, like, to have this thing in my throat looked at today, like, that they're gonna later biopsy and determine whether it's cancerous and needs to be removed, you know? So I can't really afford to be buying penises right now. Gender was a trick to sell more bathrooms. I know. Window shopping. Exactly. I wish I could start an Amazon wish list of all of the different dragon dildos. But the approved one, the silicone good ones, so that someone could buy it for me so that I don't have to feel, like, bad about it. Like, if someone else buys it for me, then at least I can't be responsible. But that would be weird, wouldn't it? To have, like, a wish list of penises. Could be strange. Icks. Also true. Yeah, we gotta, like, push to get more and more and more people in here so that we can get some gifted subs and stuff to knock out some of these white names so that you all can use the dicks emoji. Gotta suck more people into the vortex. That was a horrible noise that I just made. I have colitis, and weirdly for me, it's always been gut issues that bother me far more than periods. My colon bleeding has also pushed me towards anemia far quicker than periods have too, and a cycle of gut pain probs is actually something that unites me and my AMAB sibs, birth sex regardless. Fair enough, yeah, IBS being, like, something you can have in common definitely makes sense to me. Oh my god, I'm just drying out today. Ridiculous. Hopefully the fact that I'm so dry means that I am drinking a lot of water, but it'll just, like, absorb into all of my body stuff and not make me have to pee 4 times during the stream. I hear if you have a big following on OnlyFans or Fansly, you can just drop a link to a wish list, and then sometimes you have dicks you want just show up at your door / PO box. Yeah. I have still decided not to set up a PO box because I'm really not sure what the situation is going to be like over the next few months, being totally honest. If you're not opposed to ordering off of Amazon, I could buy you tops from there off your wish list when I have extra money. Need to have your wish list on Twitter, etc. I have the main wish list in the links in the video, and then like once you're on that, it also shows like in the menu on the left side a couple of my other public wish lists. So I have 3 public wish lists total, and you can navigate to all of them by the one link. Love me some Absorbin. But yes, I also don't have a big following on OnlyFans or Fansly, and I'm definitely not interested in starting to do that kind of work right now. Like, I really just don't think that I want to do... Like, I want to be able to post pictures of myself looking kind of sexy sometimes, but I don't want to do sex work as, like, a job because it sounds awful. I want to, like, enjoy sex. I want sex to be, like, a thing that I do with a partner who loves me and not, like, something that I have to do for my job. Like, I love having sex. Sex is great. I don't want to do it for work. Is dangerous stuff showing up in a P.O. box not a concern? Yeah, Rain Raven, basically, if I were to ever have a P.O. box, it would be, like, I'm only going to give it to people who ask me in DMs and who I recognize their names from chat and stuff, you know? It's not going to be, like, publicly posted. Which is another reason it's like, well, it's not going to be hugely beneficial to pay the money to have the P.O. box because I'm only going to give it out to, like, a handful of people. California air regulators apparently have made it so gas car sales are banned from 2035 onward. That's a hell of a window to figure it out. I hope that they do take that time seriously. P.O. box also safer than just address. Yeah, of course, yeah. If I were selling stuff online, like, and I've considered doing that because I have, like, some crochet stuff that I would kind of like to sell. I would have to start a P.O. box so that there could be a return address. Yeah. I'm just gonna take a quick step away, refill my water, and maybe hit the bathroom real quick, and then we will slide into talking about, decide while I'm gone whether you'd rather talk first about Marjorie Taylor Greene getting quote-unquote swatted, or if you'd rather talk about some person blaming non-binary people for advocating that you don't need dysphoria to be trans being the reason why trans healthcare is becoming illegal. Let me know which one you'd rather talk about first. I'm going to take a quick break. Oh, and we're back. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Yawn. Okay. Paper, but if they pick scissors, it's rock. Oh my gosh, excuse me. NB bias topic. We want to start there. I don't know if any of you actually care about Marjorie Taylor Greene. there's just always some shit going on with her. Speedy Shimeji wants to know what's going on with her, though. Curious whatever the fuck is going on with her. All right, we're gonna do both, but we'll start with... I guess we'll start with the NB thing. Because this is some nobody that I don't know who they are. Like, this is just some rando that we're gonna be talking about for this segment. I have literally no clue who MTG is, to be honest. Marjorie Taylor Greene is she's a representative from, like, I think the 14th district in Georgia. Like, she is, she's in the House of Representatives as an elected official. MTG is usually a pretty quick lull. Yeah. Okay, so I guess maybe this part might be a little bit of a segment. What the hell am I doing? Stream notes. Open this and do it here. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. So I don't know who this person is, Hunter Schafer, but this is like some discourse popped up and then like spiraled out, and like by the time I heard about it, it was like a couple discourses deep. That happens sometimes where I don't hear about the discourse until it's already deep in. So talking about transmedicalism, why transmedicalism and not non-binary people have a bigger impact on why anti-trans legislation is flourishing today. So here's this. It's not going to be very easy to see. I apologize. So I'm just going to read it to you. This says, I hope all of the people, NBs, who fought to have trans identities no longer considered a medical condition that requires dysphoria are happy because you've won. The red states are beginning to agree with you. HRT and gender-affirming surgery are no longer deemed medically necessary for adults in Florida, and it's not going to stop there. That means more trans people will have to pay for their transitions out of pocket, forcing more of us into sex work. Y'all just couldn't stand to let binary trans people be the voice of this community. You had to dismantle all of the guidelines around being trans to fit your narrative so that you could feel valid, and then you demonized trans people who challenged your ideals and called them true scum / transmedicalists. What you didn't understand is that binary trans women and men don't have the luxury of playing around with what it means to be trans the same way you do. You challenge gender ideologies from the safety of a cis body that requires no medical treatment. We have to play the game and live by the guidelines that cis people have created for us because that is how we survive. You're not helping. You're not dismantling the gender binary. You're not expanding the minds of cis people. You are making them hate us. For the last time, I am begging non-binary people to take a seat and let binary trans people, and more specifically Black trans women, be the voices of this community because they're the ones at risk. This seems crazy to me a bit. There's also like a section over here from the person who posted this. It's even tinier and harder to read, and I don't think I can zoom in on it at all. So this part also says, it's been 24 hours since I posted this on my story, and I just want to say thank you to all the people who were receptive of my point of view. I heard from dozens of other trans women and men who shared the same sentiments, so I'm posting it here as well so the conversation can continue. I just want to be clear that I don't think that NB people are solely responsible for this anti-trans movement we are seeing in red states and right-wing spaces. There are many contributing factors. I do, however, think that the people who are not medically transitioning and navigate their queerness through the privilege of a cis body need to take a step back from preaching validity based on gender theory and think about how the language they are using affects binary trans people in the real world. I.e., take a goddamn break from spewing gender abolition rhetoric and putting so much emphasis on non-transitional / non-medical transitions. That's all fine and good and your prerogative as an individual, but maybe let's focus more on the people who do need medical treatment and don't have access before we focus on your niche experience with gender divergence. non-transitional, non-binary people taking up space on platforms that claim to be raising up trans voices and using that platform to talk about non-priority issues like the validity of femme presenting they fabs transness when Black trans women are still facing unprecedented levels of systemic and physical violence is not okay. Apparently, you are not allowed to care about two things at once. Until we fix that issue, quite frankly, I don't give a shit about non-binary issues or the validity of their identity. It's extremely narcissistic and tone deaf. Oh my God. That's like classic cis. I'm breaking down. I was trying to get through it without commenting on it. Uplifts the voices of people who need to be heard and protected and then find some other avenue to get the attention you so desperately seek. Oh my God. No. No. Oh, this is painful. Like the whole thing is just so painful. Like, first of all, like the fact that you think that non-binary people have anything to do with the ruining of our rights at all is so crazy. Like, what do you like? So first of all, plenty of non-binary people transition, and this person did. Is it she pronouns on this person? Does anybody know? I don't know. Piggy Taiwan is the name of the username. This person did, like, they did specify a couple of times non-transitioning / non-binary people, like specifically non-transitioning non-binary people. Like, I guess I can admit that there have been times where, like, I'm non-binary, but I've done medical transition. And there have been some times where I've had a passing frustration with, like, someone who is more like Peter Coffin, for example. I don't like why would Peter Coffin's opinion about trans validity matter more than like someone like me who has transitioned? Just because like I'm like, Peter like uses they them pronouns but like still has a beard, basically like purports themselves as a man in most things, and I'm like, I have personally felt discomfort in those situations where I'm like, why do you think you get to comment on what being trans is or means, or like how other trans people should behave, you know? But I think that the issue there is that there is a person telling other trans people how they should be, and it doesn't matter how trans they are. It's not okay for them to be doing that anyway, you know? Like me feeling a sense of superiority or like a haughtiness of like, how could you as a baby NB like be getting all of this attention and having all this say so, you know? It's just because like you shouldn't be gatekeeping in general, right? So I think that in some ways there is something in here to say, to be like, maybe there are situations where some people are talking over other people, like not like non-transitioning people in some ways talk about, like, I know that there are people who are like, I don't want bottom surgery because fallow isn't good enough. And sometimes those people end up like talking over binary trans people who like know more about those surgeries, who do want those surgeries, or who have had those surgeries. So like there are certain conversations where I could see there being some justified frustration with people who know less than you do making like misinformed statements, right? So, but once again, the problem is not like non-binary people speaking over binary people and showing how they have cis-bodied privilege or something. It's just misinformed people saying stupid shit, right? At least that's my perspective on it. So, like begging non-binary people to take a seat and let binary trans people, and more specifically Black trans women, be the voices of this community. Like, yeah. So like also plenty of non-binary people transition. Like, I don't know if I've already said that. Like, I have medically transitioned. I still want access to medical transition. Like, I want a penis installed, and there are people out there who would say like, how could you take the opportunity away from a trans man who needs this surgery? Like, this kind of person seems like the kind of person who would be like, you don't even really have dysphoria. You're non-binary. Like, how could you take that surgical, like, the however many hours of surgery it took. How could you take up the surgeon's schedule for that many hours when there's a trans man out there who's suicidally dysphoric and needed that opportunity and you stole it from them? Like, are you serious? Are there not enough dicks to go around? There are never enough dicks to go around, Decoy Duck. Yeah, like, I don't understand thinking that NB people are in any way, like, they say, I don't think NB people are solely responsible for this anti-trans movement, but I don't understand how we could be at all responsible. I think this is just a way of, like, taking out your frustration on someone that you feel like is an easier target, because you can't actually go talk to any of these Republicans. You can't actually go to them and say, you're doing something fucked up. All you can do is pretend someone else is at fault so that you can redirect the blame onto that group and make them feel bad for no reason at all. Like, take a goddamn break from spewing gender abolition rhetoric and putting so much emphasis on non-transitional, non-medical transitions. Like, the problem is with that like, this is a young person. This has to be a young person, because for so many years it was like, you're required to basically follow a narrative about what your life has been like in order to gain access to transition, and then you're expected to tick all the boxes on transition in order to get to the whatever your endpoint is. Like, and that shit still happens even to this day. I know someone who was denied a hysterectomy because they hadn't been on testosterone, like, because that's not the kind of non-binary that they are. Like, they want a hysterectomy, but they don't want to be on testosterone. But the insurance company is, like, reinforcing the requirement of a binary transition. They're saying, we won't let you do top surgery or hysterectomy in this case. Although top surgery, sometimes they'll also deny it if you are not also on testosterone. Like, it's not like it's accepted that you should be able to get surgery or not. It's pretty much just like, if you don't get surgery, why would we take you seriously? Like, for the most part, cis people feel the same way as this binary trans person does toward non-binary people who don't physically transition. It's like, well, if you're not even going to go on hormones, if you're not even going to get top surgery, why would you bother calling yourself trans? Like, you really just want attention, right? Or denying bottom before top surgery. Yeah, that's part of why I'm not going to try to get, like, I'm probably not going to try to get insurance involved when I start figuring out my bottom surgery stuff, because they're going to just require stuff that I don't want to do. Like, you know, so, and then, like, coming around to, like, I hate the term they fabs. I think it's a very shitty, like, I just think it's awful word. It's, you know, AFAB, AFAB stands for assigned female at birth, but then it's like, it's basically just a way of quintessentializing non-binary people who were assigned female as, like, you suck because you are a non-binary person who only wants to be called they for attention. Like, that's what that word means. That's all it means to me. They fab sounds like they want to say a slur, but say that instead. I mean, honestly, it sounds like they want to say something misogynistic. Like that's, like, they fab comes across to me as misogynistic, because it's like, well, misogynistic and transphobic toward non-binary people. You know, it's like, if you want to criticize a behavior, you know, call them tender queers or something that is, like, more directed at their behavior instead of, like, they fab, which is, like, a thing that you are. I actually love they fab. It's useful to me. I'm glad if you appreciate it in that regard. Like, I've only ever seen it in this weaponized way. And then coming around at the end of this post saying, until we fix that issue, quite frankly, I don't give a shit about non-binary issues or the validity of their identity, referring to, like, Black trans women are still facing unprecedented levels of systemic and physical violence. Like, yes, you should focus on that. That is an important thing to talk about, but I don't think that it's like, it's like two totally different conversations. Like, the conversation on Twitter is going to be about, like, a lot of things, but on Twitter you'll talk about the validity of the identities of feminine non-binary people, like, who are AFAB. But, like, if you're, like, bitching about what we're actually doing with our time and attention. Like, you shouldn't be on social media bitching about what we're talking about on social media. Like, maybe go try to get some laws passed, or like encourage people to donate to funds of Black trans women. Like, it's not like this behavior is helpful either. It's not like this behavior isn't also like attention-seeking behavior where you're posting about like a group with even less power than you have. I think the perception here is the opposite, though. Like, I think that the perception that is that like a cis passing, whatever the fuck that means, non-binary person is like has it easier. I think it's the same idea that like, oh, a bisexual who's in a relationship with someone of the opposite sex has it easy. You know, they just they can just pretend to be straight and not deal with oppression. And it's like, I mean, I guess if you want to tolerate being misgendered all the time, then yes, you can just pretend you're not non-binary and that you're just cis. Like, there are a number of reasons why people might not physically transition. And so I just think it's pretty obnoxious to blame it entirely on that group of people. Apparently the only winning strategy is to only advocate for a narrow slice of LGBT people instead of all of us. Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, so this just seems pretty counterproductive to me, and like a kind of a huge waste of time, honestly, but fun to talk about for a few minutes. Laura and I were actually chatting when the TMA/TME discourse made rounds again about how useful we found theyfab and theymab to describe unique collisions of being both non-binary, but dealing with birth sex experiences and problems. Interesting, yeah. There's no cookie cutter approach to transitioning in any form. Oh yeah, TMA/TME is like the trans misogyny affected or trans misogyny exempt. And like the terms could hypothetically be useful, but they kind of just tend to get used as like a more woke way of alluding to assigned sex at birth. Like, they tend to be used in an essentializing way. Like, all trans masculine people are exempt from trans misogyny, but all trans feminine people are affected by trans misogyny. And I'm like, okay, well, what about the times when people have mistaken me for a trans woman and like called me the T slur because they thought I was a trans woman? You know, I'm not exempt from trans misogyny. It's the same kind of thinking that makes you think that like once a trans man comes out as a trans man, he's no longer affected by misogyny, even if he is not passing as a man. You know, like, it's just ridiculous. And like, I understand the reason why people say it. The reason why people say like trans men aren't affected by misogyny and trans women don't have male privilege is because the accusation of male privilege is there. But like, I don't think that one has to imply the other. You know, you can say I was socialized female without saying like trans women are socialized male. You know what I'm trying to say? I've always found AFAB and AMAB work fine. Why change the first A to they? Because like AFAB and AMAB could be, you could be AMAB and binary trans, but they means you're specifically like a non-binary, I guess. Trans misogyny also impacts different trans people differently. Trans misogyny impacts drag queens differently from how it impacts binary trans women. It does, yeah. Different levels of trans misogyny. No one is exempt from trans misogyny, even cis-het guys. I feel like they're the ones who are going to get it the most and the quickest. Like, if they deviate from their normative roles, I mean. Good grief. Goodness gracious. We have 50 whole people in here right now. Hit the like on the stream if you haven't already. Consider dropping a dono. Femboys are impacted by trans misogyny, even if cis. True. Yeah, and like, it doesn't make sense to me to be focusing on who has it worse. Like, we all have it bad. How about we just try to have a better society? Yeah. To some people I'm out to, I experience both sexism as an AFAB person, but also male privilege at the same time. It's bizarre. There's no clear line. You'll go out and like in the span of 5 interactions, you'll have like 2 very clearly you've been gendered male and 2 very clearly you've been gendered female, and 1 where the person was clearly uncomfortable and couldn't tell, you know? And it doesn't matter like where you started or where you're going, like it's always going to be nebulous like that. I mean, I'm not trying to doomerism. If anybody has goals of trying to get to a point where you pass, like I'm not saying it's impossible or anything, but like for a lot of non-binary people, that's just the reality. I agree, Speedy. A problem I find is that when words like these are created with nuanced intentions, they end up getting watered down to essentialized pingas or vagine arguments over time. True. The Oppression Olympics is the only game with no winners. I would say that getting caught in the narcissistic abuse cycle is a game with no winners. But that's just something I'm going to be distracted by for a while. I hate the idea of worse when it comes to intersectionality. I think worse adds unqualified subjective value as well as being unclear. I want to talk about how identities differ and how that works in society. That makes sense to me. Like, it doesn't, like, why? Oh, geez Louise. Let's see. Decoy Duck with the 5 gifted tier 1 subs. White name Purge. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Fuck yeah. Decoy Duck always coming out. Always coming in clutch. TBH, I fucking loathe any terminology that implies... Oh, reloading chat. That implies any one trans person has it better or worse than another. If we were able to talk about this in a way that was more, you know, like, normal... and less like, oh, I have it so bad, or oh, I have it so bad, then it would probably, like, a lot of our problems would be better. 5 tier 1 subs, that's 25. So this is 710 now. Hell yeah. Creeping closer to the goal for the month. For me, the worst thing I experience is being disabled, but someone with disability support might suffer from being an AFAB and be more. Yeah, that makes total sense. What's up, Boovine? Like, what? Yeah, like, what is, for me, like, being trans isn't that big of a deal in my life anymore. Like, especially, like, the area that I live is fairly okay about that kind of shit. Like, at least I don't, like, deal with any active problems. I don't talk to a lot of people, though, at this point in my life, to be honest. But, like, I honestly think that, like, being... like mentally and physically disabled have been probably my biggest struggles, because I think that those things, if you're white, like being queer takes like some notches off of your humanity to people, but I think that being disabled is probably a bigger loss of respect from other people as a white person, like, if that makes any sense. If I wasn't disabled, I'd be living my best damn queer life, but that isn't universally true. Disability is a really broad category. Yeah, that's true as well. Excuse me. I swear I'll go through Twitter and at least once a week find a take that somehow simultaneously implies AFAB trans people and NBs are women, but also implies they have male privilege, and also implies they're actually cis trenders. They do seem to be pretty inconsistent about their belief systems. Which is tricksy. One problem I find, wish people could realize that 2 different people can suffer from the same oppression in entirely different ways, and that doesn't make either's experience lesser. That's true. Just delete Twitter. Yeah, just delete all of Twitter. Just delete all of it. Get rid of all of it. Well, everybody, if I'm being completely honest, I am... pretty rapidly feeling like just kind of overwhelmed, and I might just start crying, so I'm just gonna like go lay on the couch and try to chill for a while and probably eat some dinner. So yeah, it just happens sometimes, so I'm gonna go deal with that instead of like having my mood just deteriorate rapidly on stream here. So I appreciate you all. Good to hang out with you. Forgive me for a short stream. I believe that on Sunday we'll be good to go for our normal like noon stream. unless I decide to pop in on you randomly over the next couple of days. But like, we'll just have to see. Oh, Ghost Knots, I'm so sorry. I'm literally just getting off the stream. You know, watch the VODs though. I'm about to catch up on VODs. I'm so sorry. Check, like, be on the lookout for the VOD channel if you want to catch up on any of the recent VODs. So, yeah. Peace and love, everybody. Have a good night.